Hello, 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 everyone.
I was trying to call my husband. Sorry.
It's okay.
I don't have my glasses.
He can join us.
I'm gonna go run and get my glasses real quick.
All right. Hello, hello, all of the smiling faces. Come in, come in. That's right, LaDonna. You have the right background up. None of the rest of us do because I did not think about it. So go to your Facebook Messenger and find that background. Yes, yes, yes. Uh-oh, we lost Grace. She'll be back. I think she only knows how to do
Is it the same one you have right now? Is it the same background you have?
it's the one
Or is
that's
it that one?
LaDonna. It's in your Facebook Messenger from last night when I
Okay, got
reminded
you.
you.
That's all I need to know.
You're perfect. All right. How is everyone this morning? Smiling, happy? I always say
I
when
want you to know, LaDonna, only for you did I get up in
I
time to
know
be
it.
here.
It's hard for Miss LaWanna to get up in the mornings. I've said this before. She likes to stay up all night and sleep all day like a teenager.
You know what's funny is I used to get up at 4 o'clock like clockwork.
Yes.
Now I want to put my sleep back. I don't get up till 5:30 now. I don't understand it.
Well, you don't have
30.
to get up at 4. You're no longer in the military, Tamara. You know, I have been getting up at 5 a.m. for 4:45, excuse me, 4:45 a.m. for so long. I thought once the children grew up and got out of school, I wouldn't have to do that. But my husband is the noisiest, loudest person ever. He gets up, the dogs bark. So I think, okay, when the dogs stop barking, I can roll over and go back to sleep. No, he talks to the dogs. He tries to talk to me. He turns the news on. I'm like, come on, man. Let me. I give up. I give up. So I just get up. I start my day. Before most people rise out of their bed, I have the laundry started, the dishes started, kitchen clean. Then I start my work day. So yeah. All right. So we should have 3 more joining in. I don't know where Abby and Dar are. If someone would go over to Facebook Messenger and message, usually Dar will answer before Abby because she may be on a call, but sometimes they oversleep. But we will be watching for them. But we should have 3 more joining us. But oh, Grace, I get up at 4:45 a.m. CST. Most mornings. Most mornings.
I'm usually going to the bathroom at that time, but then I go back to bed.
See, most of the time I've already started my day, so I just continue. But even on his days off, my mind is just set to get up now. Oh, go to bed at night, not between 9:30 and 10. That's all I can do. That's it. That's all I can do. My body and mind said, "Ooh, gone, history." So that's why I cannot do these late night Australia time. I would love to do Sherri, is Fred still doing his thing at night? I love doing his, but I just can't. I would love to support him. And I'm sure there's a lot of great information, but I'm exhausted. I have training on Wednesday nights from 7 to 8:30. I can't even think. If I would have known that they were going to change the time to that, I would have never done it. It was supposed to be from 5 to 6:30, but you have to pivot, like it or not. So I do. All right, so let's get started with Ask LaDonna. The floods, we do have floods in our area, Grace, but what's really killing me is the internet with the winds. Yesterday, I wasn't even able to get on one of my classes that I was supposed to get on to speak because the internet wouldn't work correctly enough to do Zoom. is because the winds have just destroyed so many things. But I'm still have to be blessed because I do not have the tornadoes like Oklahoma has had. So I'll take my wins over there. So, you know, you got to find out what you should be blessed for. That's how I see it. Be thankful for what you do have or don't have. So, all right. Ask LaDonna. We just keep asking LaDonna questions. Just talking about business. Grace, I love you. But you know what? You got to get to know each other too. That's part of it, right? Know, like, and trust. So let's start asking those questions. Sherri and Dr. LaWanna are my backup. Did someone have time to Facebook message Dar and Abby? Sherri?
I just wrote, hope to see you soon.
Okay, thank you, Sherri. Perfect, perfect. It's not like them. They're so perfect for me because they always tell me, oh, I can't be there. I have a doctor's appointment, or we're going to the church, or we're, you know. But this morning I haven't heard from them at all. So, all right. So what questions did you bring? I'm going to start with Tamara because she's always full of some questions.
Okay, so I have this question for Dr. LaWanna.
Okay.
Okay, so I would love to write a book, but how do you get started? Because I get started and then I just throw it away. Then I get started and throw it away. How do you get started? Do you start with your past life? Do you start with now? How do you start?
Can I say something first, Dr. LaWanna? I know I'm not Dr. LaWanna, but my first thing I want to start with is just start. Anywhere you want. Take it away, Dr. LaWanna.
Oh, she just said it, just start. The first one that I wrote actually was me ranting because things were not going well and I didn't have anyone to talk to. Most of my life, I've been quiet, and whatever was going on in my head stayed with me. I didn't share it with anyone. So I started writing about this is going wrong and that's happening and why me? I mean, I was throwing a huge pity party on that paper. There was no rhyme or reason, just whatever was I was feeling, I just put it there. It was maybe, I don't know, a few days, a week or two when I reread what I wrote, and I noticed that once I stopped the complaining, some of the stuff was making some sense. So what I did was I took out that stuff that was complaints, and I just kept the rest of it, and then I embellished on that edit stuff. Before I knew it, it turned into a book. That was how I did the first book that I wrote and published myself. So just start. Doesn't matter where.
Absolutely. You know, I've heard
Thank you.
some people start at the end of their story, some start in the middle, some start at the beginning. But what I have learned from mine is just start. Just start, and then you can add to it wherever you want,
Mhm.
right? Sherri?
I definitely have a couple suggestions, and I actually did an interview with a bunch with like 3 people, I think it was, and it was all they all had a different thought of how you do it, how you start, and it was very interesting. So the thing is, I think you have to do it the way that's right for you. That's first off, and we can look at what other people are doing or how they say they do it, but it's helpful to know that there are different ways, but it might not be the way that is necessary for us. I think the first point is, yes, you have to start somewhere. But I think the other thing is you have to know that when you're writing something and it's your story and whatever it is that you're writing about, there's no way for it to be wrong because it's yours. If it doesn't look like somebody else's, congratulations for being yourself and being authentic. So that's amazing. Just be you. It doesn't have to be any certain way. I think But in order to answer your question, because one of the things I'm hearing is not that you don't know your story, is that you don't know the mechanics of it, and that's something different.
Yeah.
And so the mechanics can be kind of gone at a different way. But I will tell you, for people that have struggled, because I've helped a lot of people with collaborative chapters and things like that, which still have a beginning, middle, and end. I think the best way to do it is uh sort of write a loose outline. And by outline, I mean like one, Roman numeral one, and then number two and number three, and you have your intro and you have your middle and then you have your end. Whatever, however, this is not an English lesson, but to do it that way, and whatever you want to write about it, somewhere it has some kind of a start. You're starting somewhere. And a lot of times, like LaDonna said, you start at the end and work your way backwards. Like, if you're going to write about like life after 50, whatever, you're going to have, wherever you are right here, but then you're going to talk about the different journey that you went in the middle, and then you're going to talk about life changes, now what do I do? Maybe that's your intro, right? So like you're gonna, if you build it, I would say backwards, kind of like LaDonna pointed out, I think it's easier. But I think if you take the framework of an outline and work it backwards, I think it's a little bit easier. Then you can fill it in. Then you can do like what Luana said. Then you can go back and then you can write out in those main points what those paragraphs look like. They'll stitch themselves together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know what she says is very true, because one of the things I do now, because I try to outline, and everybody does have to find what works for them. I can't outline. It's like it stifles me. And so what I had started doing was, because at one time I thought I'll write my whole life story, but I didn't know how to start. So I went from 0 to 10, 11 to 20, and noted everything that I could remember in that time period. I still haven't written it because other books have come into my head to write better, but I have that information if I want to use it. So you do have to find what works best for you. Some people are great at outlining, and they can do that 1, 2, 3 and know exactly what they want. Um, that's never worked for me. It's like it confines me. I have to stick to this. And my mind is thinking, no, 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 that's not going to work. It wants to do something else.
Yeah, and
No,
that's
another.
that's why it's so important that you like figure out what works for me. And I think the other thing is, it kind of points back at what LaDonna said too, is you got to start somewhere. So whatever, and you might do it one way and then the next time go, you know what, I didn't really enjoy that process that much. Kind of like Luana tried to do and said that doesn't really work for me. But you don't know until you work through something whether it works. And this is just a last thing I'd say about it is, I think that people try, when they're writing books and or things, they try to write everything that they want to encapsulate in one book. And I
Mhm.
believe that you can write an entire book on an experience, like on one thing. And everybody tries to like Luana, that's why she hasn't done that, because that's a whole lifespan of experiences. And just start with one part. Even one part still has a start, a middle, and an end. You're taking somebody on a journey through the experience.
Absolutely.
So
With that, all these years I wanted to write my own story about my childhood, because I know there's other people going out there going through, hopefully not all the things, but some of the things I went through, and I want to help. But I was scared to start because I'm not a writer. I'm not an English person. I I, I know what a comma and a period is, but sometimes I get confused with there, and there. But I know the difference, but I have to slow down and remember the difference. Where Sherri, it just comes to her mind. So I've not written my entire book yet, but I've written several collaborations now. And I think for me, that was a great start because I've learned so much from different people doing different books together of how they do it, who I want to work with, who I don't ever want to work with again. And therefore, look at Grace. Yep. I mean, it's just is because everyone's personalities are different. Everyone expects something different from you. But just knowing your story, Tamra, is I could see a childhood story from you. But what I think would be powerhouse story from you is your time in the military, not just your time, but how many times did you go over to the war fields? 3? 3 times. That's probably 3 books just right there because you experienced different things all 3 times that you went. You know,
I think it dropped in lessons from the battlefield.
yes, there
Like
you go. You know, a woman in
see-
combat boots. Why
Okay,
did a
I
woman
agree to
go
that.
to combat boots? You know,
I agree to that, but I'm pretty sure that most everybody will be like, no, that's not what happened. Yes, it is. That's
but
exactly
that's
what happened.
your
That's,
story. Remember,
but it's your story.
Yes,
It's your story.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And one of the easiest thing, I didn't mean to cut you off, LaDonna, but one of the easiest thing to get started for me, because like LaDonna, I always wanted to write, but I didn't take up writing. I didn't even go back to school once I left high school. And so that was a big thing, what you're saying. But the easiest thing you can do is just look at something. I don't care what it is. Maybe you have a complaint about something you're looking at on television, or you look outside and you see something. Just write whatever. That'll help get you started. And you can, as she say, add on from there if you want to. Like I had an incident that happened during my birthday, and I was sharing the story at Toastmasters, and then somebody said, "That's a book. You just have to exaggerate what happened there, and you got a book," which was kind of humorous. So I'm thinking about that.
There you
But you
go.
can write on anything,
Yes.
anything.
And Tamara, you asked when you write chapters for someone else's books, how long are your chapters? Well, I'm not the English professor here, but my thing is a chapter can be as long as you want it to be, as long as it follows the chapter guidelines. But my first thought is, I don't know. This is just my first thought is that I don't know if I would be writing chapters for someone else's books before I wrote some chapters about me, about just some practicing. But what do you think, Sherri or Dr. Lamont?
I'm actually the opposite. I wrote a collaborative chapter first. That knowing that I could do that, I took, as I mentioned, one experience in my life, and that was the experience I wrote about. That gave me the courage to know that I could write my own book. And so for me, I did it the opposite way. I really believe, and this is, if anyone asks me, how do I get started? That's always what I say is do a collaborative book. Here's one of the reasons why. You get the parameters. They'll tell you it's 1,500 words or 2,000 words or 3,000. Those are the 3 that I've been part of. They tell you exactly when it's due. Like, and generally, like in collaborative books, a lot of times there is a theme. And so therefore, I believe that when you are doing a book like that, I truly believe that's the way that you want to do it, is to give yourself the parameters so that you can come up to what's expected. Once you do that, then you then have the confidence to go, oh, that wasn't nearly as hard as I thought.
Now,
And you realize that.
hold on a second, Sherri, because I'm a little lost. So I read her question differently than what you just read it.
Okay.
This is the difference in different people reading things. I thought she meant, number one, I'm 100% on Sherri. I have not written my own book yet. I've written in 4 different collaboratives and it has showed me a lot. I thought she was talking about writing a chapter for like Grace. That's what I thought she was saying. Or
No, what I was talking about is there's a lady that asked me to write a chapter for her about some of the things that women over 50 have to, and I'm like, how long does it have to be? She didn't give me
okay.
those
It's a
parameters.
collaborative
She
book,
didn't give me
probably.
those parameters about how long it should be. So
She
that's
will.
why I was asking you guys, because I'm like, you guys have done that. The only way I know how to do that is ask you guys.
Yes.
And
She will
this is
give you the
Ask LaDonna.
parameters
So
and she will give
no,
you a theme more than likely. I've never written
right.
a
She did give
collaborative
me the
book.
theme. She gave me the theme. I just didn't know how long a chapter would be. So
Um,
I wrote a chapter and I was like, okay, this is cool, but it's only like a page long. And I'm like, well, how long is that going to be in a book?
You have to ask her. You have to ask her. I also wrote in a collaborative book, and they told me as well, I agree with Sherri. They told me how long it should be, when it was due, and all that kind of stuff. And then also agreeing with LaDonna, I found out who I do not want to collaborate with, because when I got that book, I'm looking at all the other chapters and I'm going, like, this is almost the exact opposite of what I wrote. And there's no, and they're like, oh, promote the book, promote the book. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to promote this book to anybody. So, yeah, I would not want to collaborate with them. And then I
so
did collaborate with another guy, and it was a fiction. Well, he wrote a fiction book, and then he suggested that um, I write I expand on one of the minor characters, and he said that he had 11 other people whom he asked to do that. I chose a character, they chose all different characters. So it was 12 different chapters, which he called episodes. And then he asked me to edit them. And of course, it was the most difficult to edit mine, but I did have some people to edit who were very intelligent, and I had no problem, like they were pastors. And then I had one guy from Africa to edit his book. I mean, his chapter, his episode. I almost had to rewrite the whole thing. But anyways, it was interesting. And yes, I have first year university English, which was all grammar. And I'm very good at spelling, but then of course you've got spell check and everything else, and a grammar check, which you can look at. But I'm quite, I'm pretty good at all that kind of
But
stuff.
Tamara,
And
I
I do
think you
know
just
that
need to go back and
very
ask her, because
to-
I've had where,
Sorry.
only 500 words, 1,500 words. They usually want a certain font. They usually want it on, certain program. I mean, there's so many guidelines. So she'll tell you.
Well, after listening to you guys, I'm thinking maybe she's just thinking she's going to write a book and she just asked everybody to do it and she didn't give anybody any parameters.
So
I'm
I'm
thinking
gonna
it's probably
interject
somebody.
here because I want to ask LaDonna a question, because I think you probably have the most writing experience. I'm not sure about Margaret, but there are certain things that pop up, like LaDonna said, that make you go, should I do this? And the reason is it's knowing what you're attaching your name to, like Grace said. Do your research, go find out. I mean, and here's the thing, if you want to do one with somebody who's never done one, it doesn't cost you a dime, it's fine. But if it costs you 1,500 or a couple grand to be in this book, they better have their beep together. Like,
Yeah.
because it's your name attached to that, which includes the editing or lack thereof. My first one was like that. Here's what I've collaborated with, I think, as maybe same as LaDonna, 4, maybe 5 different people. And there are 2 that I would recommend at the drop of a hat. The other ones I would never do another one with. Now, for various reasons. Some they just took anybody as writers, and some of the, I'm sure that had to be rewritten, half of it had to be rewritten. And no shade to the authors. It's just that I don't want to be in that. I want to be in something that, you're proud that your story is next to theirs. And somebody that has their deadlines together, that has the parameters, that everybody knows what's going on. A lot of them, there's a lack of communication, and some of it is if they're new or they haven't done it much before, or sometimes they're just not good at the organizational part. It's very stressful as a writer, in my opinion. Ask questions. So you shouldn't have to ask. If somebody asked you to write, you should know. Would you agree with that, LaVonna?
Absolutely. And like the rest of you, I have at least one person that I would not do another collaborative with because I didn't like the layout of the book, and then they wanted to charge me an outrageous amount for people just to buy it. There was no way I could promote that book because I didn't know anybody who would spend that kind of money on a book. I mean, $47 might not be a lot, but for a book, So
Well, and
never
two,
again.
I want to, and then I think we should move off of the book writing thing. But one last thing too, and Tamara did not ask. I know one thing that I was told is you're going to sell all these books and you'll get your money back. Well, okay, maybe I'm the only one this hasn't happened for, but I have not made my money back on one book. But I will tell you, I don't go to the bookstores and the libraries and the coffee shops and set up a table and a booth and sell my books. I don't have time for that. Now,
Yeah.
one of the authors that I was in a couple of her books, she gives you a certain amount of books every time you author with her. Well, guess what? I haven't even sold out on those books or given away those books. I need to just probably give them away and get them in hands of other people. But maybe when I publish my own book, maybe I will make money. I don't know. But being in someone else's, I just haven't. Sherri, have you, or LaDonna, Kelly, Grace, Margaret, have you guys made money after you've paid all of your money out?
No,
No.
I'll tell you, I believe that writing a book, a chapter, any of that, I think it's for credibility. That's really what you're doing.
And marketing. That's the way I chop it up.
Yeah.
And even when I put
Exactly.
my taxes, I put it in the marketing budget. When
Yeah.
I do my
I've even used it as a business card when I did
Yep.
my own book
yeah.
because it wasn't real thick. It was about 60, 70 pages. And I would keep copies with me and I just give them out. Now,
Well, I like
I
that.
did one time give it away to somebody who I did not know was a speaker, and the person was introduced. They went up on stage holding my book,
Nice.
and they said, "If you have not read this book, you need to go and order it." Now, I couldn't have paid for that.
Right.
So always have copies of your book, whether you're selling them or you decide to give it away. Always have copies of your book. That was Nancy Matthews, by the way, LaDonna, that
That is a
I
great
met
person to
back in
speak the book up
Texas.
on stage. Let me tell you,
Hmm.
that's a great
Yeah.
person. But I will say, Lawana just gave me a brain
Yes.
wow, because I'm thinking, wow, I have all these little mini courses written. Why don't I put it in a book and give it
Hmm.
away when I go to different meetings? Margaret.
Hmm.
Hi, ladies. How's everybody?
Hi.
Yeah, thank you for having me. For me, I do self-publish, so I publish my own books and everything. So I have made money out my books as I move along, particularly the single mother and the dating game. And LaDonna, you said something about the English. I'm severely dyslexic. I mean, I went way the scale when I was kind of checked and everything. But like now I've got loads of software that's really helping me as I'm writing and everything. But yeah, I'm self-publishing. I sell my book in Amazon. But a great thing you've just said, LaDonna, all my books, I've actually turned them into training programs. For example, as you all know, the single mother in the dating game, that's where love and relationship 21st century came from. Because I'm dyslexic, I wrote a book which is called Stop Undermining Me. I'm not stupid, I'm just dyslexic.
I love that.
So so this is all a journey of me working with big partners up there. I'm great looking, but when I send out an email, oh my God, but I always make sure I allow all the partners I work with, I make them well aware of it. I am dyslexic and I get a lot of support. So because of that book now, I actually use that as a training book because we run workshops here as teaching assistants. Those who wants to go to schools, want to be a mentor. So I actually use that book because it's part of my journey, how they can spot a child in school if they're dyslexic. So that's
Oh,
one way I've
let
been
me
using my
tell you,
books.
that is great,
Yeah.
Margaret. That is awesome. That just fills my heart, the dyslexic part. Not because you're dyslexic, but because you do the training. They just found out as my grandson was going into the 9th grade, someone realized he's dyslexic. Now, what? Why? Why did they wait so long? Why? Because this child has had issues with school from day one. I had issues from day one in school. Now I think maybe I'm dyslexic and don't even know it. And why did they wait for so long? My daughter was in 4th grade before the school district figured out that she had lazy eye.
Oh,
You
I
need
heard
to
that.
realize that these children get so far behind in school because of this. Now they've had him the 9th, he's in 10th grade now. He's been in a special class that he goes to every morning for dyslexic children to help them figure out how to, I don't know the right words, handle,
Adapt.
themselves so they can
Yes.
figure out how to deal with it. But a little late now because,
Well, and you know what? The thing is, you gotta hope that you don't have to undo the feeling that he feels stupid, because that's what
that's just the
happens when
thing.
you have that delay, is that they feel like they're dumb.
And it doesn't
Yeah.
help that his older brother straight A's without even working on them. My precious 10th grader loves football, loves basketball, and great in it, like A string player. Guess what? He can't play. Why can he not play, Sherri? Give me the answer.
Yeah, because he's not eligible for the grades.
Because of grades.
Yeah.
You know how embarrassing and depressing that is for him? We're
Well, that's the
always
school
trying to reach
system
out.
failing him.
He
I
is
can tell you why.
hard to reach inside.
can-
I mean, I'm like pulling him to talk to me, pulling him to interact. And it's not because of his family. I really believe it's all the school thing. I mean, we cheerlead him on when he passes. He has to go to summer school every summer. He always has. We pay for it, even though I feel like the school really, but I know they can't catch everyone. But
Well, it's because I can tell you why. I can tell you why. It's because he wasn't naughty.
No,
That's
he's that
what it was.
quiet little boy that
That's right.
sits there. He's that quiet one. Where the other one, his brother,
Yeah,
no
but if he was
teacher gives
causing a
that
problem,
right answer.
right, if he was causing a problem in the classroom, they'd have tested him and they'd have figured it out when he was in 3rd grade. But
Exactly.
because when they're not, the same thing happened to my nephew. They didn't diagnose him, with a learning disability until he was 15 and a half. He was like, forget it, I quit. And he was done. And he's so smart,
Yeah.
but brilliant in math. I mean, brilliant.
Now, all of my grandchildren are brilliant in math, even him. He is brilliant in math, but then he got into algebra. He can't put the A's and B's and D's together because being dyslexic, that's a little bit harder to do. But Grace, sitting quietly, yes.
Well, I will say there's a,
We
oh,
were
go
talking
ahead. I'm
about,
sorry.
we were,
Grace, go ahead.
yeah, we were talking about a collaborative book. Well, not only myself, but the other people who were in the collaborative book that was, 12 or 13, 14 people. I don't know. Anyways, we all paid 500 Canadian dollars, which is, I don't know, 450 American. But we all paid that amount. And yes, we were told the story. Oh, yeah, we're going to give you a bunch of books and then you sell them, you make your money back. But as I told you, I could not endorse that book because when I read the other ones, I'm like, this is crazy. It's just not, it does not align with anything that I believe at all. So I could not promote that book. And it was very difficult. They did everything right. It's just the other writers. I agreed with the lady who put it together, but the other writers, I don't know how she attracted them. But anyways,
Well, and I think
it was,
probably the secret is like Margaret said, she does her own books.
yeah,
Dr. LaDonna does her own books. So see, they haven't had to pay that huge overhead cost if you're using Amazon, I should say. I guess if you're going to a publisher, then you would have to pay a big overhead. I was going to ask Kelly because
I have with collaborative books with other people, I have had to pay. I just kind of avoid the ones who charge the really high prices because I think that's a little ridiculous. But I understand why they charge because usually they are having someone that they pay to proofread and edit, and they've
right.
got to pay that individual. So I understand why they charge. It's just that some of them get a little high. But I will say this about the money part. Every time I speak someplace and I'm talking about my book, I sell 2 or 3 books on Amazon. I've even had where people have text me in the chat saying, "I just bought your book." That's nice when that happens. So that's a really nice reward, and it makes up for the lack of dollars that I get otherwise.
Yes. Kelly, I haven't heard you say anything yet before I go to Margaret. Have you written or thought about writing or?
Are you kidding? I'm struggling right now with a name for my business to kind of put everything I do together. And I haven't even written a recipe. And I'm freaking out about that because I have to start writing recipes. So a
Oh,
book?
but it's going to be
No,
so
no, 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 no.
easy when you first get started. After you start, it gets easier. That's what I say. Once you start, it's going to be, oh, I forgot about that one. Oh, I need to add mushrooms to that recipe. Now I have 2 recipes, one without mushrooms, one with mushrooms, just for example. I mean,
Yeah.
it's writing has changed the way I think about my thoughts. I know I probably said that wrong. I hope it came out the way I wanted it to, but now when I think about things, I think about them differently since I've been writing. And I've only been writing probably a year and a half, 2 years, because I wrote all my books back to back. I haven't written anything, not a book. I want to rephrase that. The collaborative chapters. One day I will write a book, but I don't know. I have to find a good partner because or put it in AI. But again, when you put stuff in AI, don't do it word for word. It's supposed to be you, not AI, not a robot. It's supposed to be you. I just read 2 different articles this morning on an email, and I know darn well it was AI. There was just words in there. I know both of these people, they do not talk like that. They do not say words like that. One of them is a lot like myself and can't even pronounce the words. Sherri knows. I will go to Sherri and I'll say, Sherri, I don't know how to pronounce this word. Please help me because of my language issues in the past. I mean, most people can't tell I was ever tongue-tied and couldn't talk very well, but there's still some words. I mean, I the other day, Sherri and I was going over some things and I had to put the word on paper the way I visualized it so that I would say it correctly. You can't be
Nothing
a
wrong with
robot.
that.
Margaret, what would you have to say?
Yeah, I was gonna add on that. I'm gonna touch a little bit on dyslexia. Sorry, I'm coming back on that. I'm so passionate about it. And because I taught on that subject, I only got discovered that I was dyslexic in my 40s. And that's when I was working with an employer. And like you said, sending out an email, I sent out an email because normally my boss knew that I had some issue, but wasn't sure. So she would always correct my emails before they go up head office. And then she was off sick, which was a stress for me. And I had to write end of year report. And my boss came out. I'm still waiting for that end of report. And I thought, you know what, just send it in. And she came out and she's like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna be fired. That's it, I'm gonna lose my job. And but when she came out, she smiled. And I thought, okay, I'm not losing my job. And then she says to me, have you heard of dyslexia? I'm like, no. And then she said, oh, what would you think? I said, well, I know I'm a bad speller. And she was so filled with compassion when I said that. And she said, sit down, let me show you how dyslexia writes. And that was the first time ever that I've seen how dyslexia wrote. And then they kind of tested me and give me the support that I need. But like you said, LaDonna, like spelling words and everything, pronouncing words, I kind of got stuck. So I use my iPhone to pronounce words if I'm not sure, to spell words if I'm not sure. So I used to quite a lot. But just coming back on writing, again, my journey is got dumped. So I got to write the book. So I sat for a whole year and wrote one. Well, I thought it was one book, but inside the book, I actually wrote 3 books when I actually got edited to have a look at it.
Yes.
But that was just being consistent that I did. I made sure I start off with 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes every day, and then build it up to about 1 hour or more if I don't have my child around with me. But I find the writing is very therapeutic. I got a lot of healing from it.
And I
And
don't know
yeah,
what
I
it is.
self-published.
A lot of my thoughts come when I'm watching TV. I don't know why. They don't come when I'm on the computer. They don't come when I'm talking to someone usually. It's when I'm relaxed, I'm in my pajamas, and I'm sitting in front of the TV watching a movie. Then I'll think, oh, and I used to just put a notepad right next to me on my the little end table by my chair, because I would remember when I was writing the Cinderella monologues, I would go, oh, I forgot about that part. I should add that to my story while I was writing it, and then I would go back and put it in. But sometimes it didn't fit where I was writing. So I did mine not really in a paragraph form, but like in topic form, I guess. Like I was like little chapters inside of one chapter. I don't know how to pronounce, but do it your way, Tamara, whenever you get started, whoever. So we have about 15 minutes left. This has been a great topic. This is what I love. I had no idea we were talking about this. Did you, Dr. LaDonna or Sherri?
No.
Lots of answers, didn't we, crowd? We had lots of answers. I love this. Ask LaDonna.
We know people are interested in writing. This the research says that 80% of Americans, just talking about Americans, want to write.
Yes.
Only 1.5% to 2% actually do anything. So there's room for all of you. And you know what? We are so blessed to live in today's world, because in yesterday's world, you could write your story, you send it in to a publisher. It might be a year or more before they get to your book to read it. And then only to tell you, this is not what we are looking for at this time. And there you go. You have spent another year writing. Today we can write on any subject we want, and we don't have to depend on a publisher. Just go publish it ourselves. So we are truly blessed. So
Yes.
don't let the lack of education, the lack of knowledge for his grammar and stuff. That's why there are people you can pay to do that for you.
Well, and two, it's
Go
just
ahead and
like,
write your
I'm going to
story.
use an example. Tamara sent me an article that Dar wrote and sent in to her for her newsletter that's going out today. As soon as I put it in on the Google Doc, it went and spell checked everything for me and found like 8 or 9 errors. Or like there should have been parentheses in, or, in yesterday's world, we didn't have all of that help.
No.
We didn't have all that help. And
Mhm.
guess what? I would not have caught it because that is not my thing. I would not be able to put Tamara's newsletter together, my newsletter together. Why are you crossing your eyes like that? Are you trying to yell at your husband or a dog or the squirrel by your window? I'm talking to Sherri. She keeps looking.
My husband was backing out. I was trying to figure out what he did because I swear to God, he walked out of the house when he got in his car and he didn't have any shoes on. So that was why I was like, I thought he was just looking in his car for something. And now he just backed out. I'm like, maybe he's just going somewhere with his stocking feet. So that is the confused. The life of Sherri.
Ladies, I want to tell you thank you so much because you guys have just opened my mind crazy amount.
Well, I want to give one more tip before we leap off that conversation. And that's one that I've shared many times. I think sometimes the story is in us, and part of the stopping of us is maybe just sitting down to do it. That's kind of intimidating. I wholly encourage you, if you have Word, use Word, if whatever you want. If you Google Docs, there's a little microphone. It's called Dictate. All you have to do is click it and start talking. It'll type everything you talk. Sort it out later. The thing is, tell your story in there. Even for like the recipes, Kelly, read them out loud. Just read them and just go next line. It'll skip to the next line. You can put the ingredient. It'll type it all for you. You can go clean it up. It's much faster. The thing is, it's the getting started part that is the hardest part for most people. Just brain dump whatever you want, then go sort it, move it around. Then you'll have the document to start to add to. I just think that it's the starting point that's so hard. But that tool, using the dictate tool, is so helpful if you get that block when you sit down and think, oh, no, I'm stressed. Now I got to do it. Just let it roll out of your head.
And just think about that, how fast I talk, how much I was able to say within 2 minutes. And Mila Johansson was my very first published, I don't know what you call her. She was the one that headed the book. I guess she's the author, right? We're the co-authors. So she did, when she kind of interviewed me a bit about my childhood story, she recorded it and then sent it to me. And I didn't know how she did that. So Olivia, it's like, oh yeah, LaDonna, that's how I write all my chapters. That's how I write all my books, scripts, everything. Yeah. And now, see, now when you go to some of the authors, they wanted it on Google Sheets, and then some of them wanted it on, like Mila, she will only take hers in Word, but they're very specific. What font, what spacing, blah, 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 and then I'm like, I don't even know what those words meant, but that's what you paid them to, to help you with. So yeah.
If you're paying them, they ought to take it, whatever form. They shouldn't ask for spacing and fonts, and that's my thought.
When I write articles.
Yeah, they can change that if they want a specific one. I'm a Times New Roman person. So everything I do, I change it. Somebody send me something, I change it because that font reads better for me. For somebody else, something totally different,
Yeah.
So, but thank you, Sherri, because you reminded me of something I had completely forgotten. Those microphones.
Yes.
Why am I I was just struggling. I was trying to type because I'm a slow typer.
Me too.
Well, you know, my grandson that I was talking about at 16, I might have said this already, when he went to the driver's license place to get his permit, because again, he's always behind. He did not go get his permit when he turned 15. He was too scared. It took us the whole damn year to get him to pass that test. Where his brother, it took him studying 2 hours and passed the test. It took us all year to help him pass that test, to teach it to him, to read it to him, to get him to understand it, to give him figure actions for him to understand and draw out the roads and the sun. It's hard for people. It's hard for him. And when he went up there, they said, well, you have to sign here. Well, he printed his name. The ladies at the driver's license said, no, sir, you have to write your name. My daughter had to write his name. They don't write anymore in school.
No, they
Because
don't. I heard that.
well, in my school, in their school district, in my area anyway, they had those, they're not called lap pads. What are they called? They're like a
iPads?
mini laptop, but they call them something else.
Well, like the
What? Are you
iPad.
talking about the tablet or iPad?
The
It's kind of like
Chromebook.
that, but they call it something different. But
The
every
Chromebook.
student has it. So they just put everything in. So he didn't even know how to write his name. I mean, I don't think that's a great thing, but it's a thing because they don't have to do it. They
Right.
just don't.
Just add a quick one. If you're dyslexic,
Chromebook, sorry, Margaret.
Uh,
Chromebook. Tamara got it right. Chromebook.
yeah,
Go ahead, Margaret.
yeah. If you're dyslexic, even me, when sometimes I can send an email, if I don't stop myself, I can spell my name wrong. Because it's so quick for us to switch the letters in our heads. And that's what happened to him. It's not that he couldn't write it, it's how we see the letters sometimes. And sometimes I see the letters, my own name, like a mirror front. So
Yes.
And-
Yes.
yeah,
And you know,
Yeah.
with his dyslexic, and I don't understand it, and that's why I think I might be dyslexic, and I think my youngest daughter may be dyslexic, not his mom, but his aunt, is he sees the whole word backwards, not just one letter, but the entire word or the entire sentence. They said sometimes he will see different. So when he tries to read that sentence, it makes no sense because those words don't come together. You can't sound them out. I mean, imagine you see mirror and you try and it's reversed and it starts with R. You can't sound that out in your head. That's the only reason I'm a great speller. If I can sound it out, I was always a great speller until I got into college, and I should have probably never went to college because it was hard. When I went to nursing school, oh my God, nothing made sense to me. Nothing. But I didn't pick up on it, but I haven't been tested, but I'm sure I'm probably somewhat just not as bad as my Tyler, but probably has some things in there. So yeah.
But the great thing is when you know, you'll be able to learn the techniques that you need. Just like Margaret was saying at 40, you know, you don't have to say, well, too bad that didn't work out for me. I'm done. Every day is a day that you get to improve and learn whatever techniques it is that you have to learn to actually empower yourself, because that's what it is. You feel disempowered when it doesn't make sense to you, and then you shrink yourself, and that's not good for anyone around you, and it's not good for you. So I think just embracing that and saying, okay, well, maybe I do have this. Go well, or talk to Margaret. Let her test you.
Tested. I've got an appointment already to be tested. I want to know so I can learn how to. This is my thing. I don't care what I care, but whatever's wrong with me, I failed my eye test, even though I have bifocals. I went into Stanton Optical, just a little like doc in the box place to renew my glasses. I'm sorry, Miss McAbee, we can no longer service you. I'm like, what? My eye vision is 20/50. So places like that cannot prescribe my glasses anymore. I have to go to a ophthalmologist, not an optometrist, but an ophthalmologist to fix it. Because if I don't fix it, I can't drive, because you, in the state of Texas, you have to be 20/40 to drive. I'm like, well, what's wrong with, I don't know what's wrong with me. Don't freak me out. And then I'm like, okay, get rooted. It's okay, because you know what? Give me the issue. Let's figure out how to fix it. Let's put a plan together. But when I was a kid, like my Tyler, oh my God, I can't tell Sherri I can't pronounce this word that she wants me to pronounce, because that is shameful. It's embarrassing. Oh my God, she's not going to be my friend anymore. Right? When you're 14, 15, 16, that's what you say in your head. Oh, Sherri's going to make fun of me. She's going to tell all my friends. But as an adult, I can ask Kelly, how do I pronounce this? Or Tamara, how do I pronounce this? Or Grace, how do I spell this correct? You know, I can ask Grace anything about the Bible and she can tell me, and she doesn't judge me for it. But when I was younger, I would have never asked Grace about the Bible, because it would have embarrassed me. And I know that's what Tyler is feeling right now. I know that's what little Aaliyah, I never say her name right. Is it Aaliyah? Am I saying it almost right? Aaliyah, because they feel like they're not as smart as their friends. But guess what? They are smart. They're just smarter in different ways. When you get to talking to my Tyler, oh my gosh, he will blow you away with, he loves to cook. He will go to Pinterest and find anything to cook. And he'll say, Mama, that's what they call me. Mama, I can't go to college. I want to go to college, but I can't. I'm like, yes, you can. Colleges have help for students now that need that extra hand. They have, and I hope he does go to college, because what they're teaching him about dyslexic, they have that class now that he goes to first thing in the morning. They will finish going through that as a college student. And if he doesn't go to college, he won't have that.
Right.
Margaret, and then we're going to hang it up.
It's just a quick one. With dyslexia, one of the things as well, what you mentioned, LaDonna, is that when we look at a book or we read words, the words jumps out. So that we're not seeing them as a sentence. They're all literally jumping it out in front of us. So it takes a while for our brain to connect into it. It's like if you've given him instruction, it's like you've just taken a whole, like a cards, you know, and so when, as the words are coming to us, we then had to start put them in small compacts so we can break it down. So it takes us a little bit longer. So our learning style, it's really kind of, I'm going to put it unique, but other people do not understand it. Now, when I'm teaching dyslexia, this is what I do. It's just amazing how many people out there that are dyslexic. So what I do is, and I go through the computer, I find some really famous people who are dyslexic, and then I said, look, this is where you are. You are like him. You are like that. And that really builds their confidence and everything like that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
And you know what? That's the thing. I always thought it was just written, but it's not always written. I've learned over the years. It's how we say, like, we can't give Tyler 4 things to go do. Go unload the dishwasher, wipe down the counter, sweep the floor, and feed the dogs. All he heard was the very first thing, or maybe the middle thing I said, or the end thing, and nothing in between.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to decipher, what do I do first? And what did she just say? And then he shuts down and doesn't do anything. So we've had to learn over the years, but the doctors always said, oh, he's ADD or ADHD. But no, every time we gave him that stupid medicine, it made him sick. I mean, so sick. My daughter said, no more of that. Then we found out it's dyslexic.
Well, and the
Crazy.
thing is, if he's empowered to ask, say the right things back when somebody does that and he starts getting multiple directions, all he needs to do is say, hey, I want to do exactly what you've asked me, but can you give me just two things? If he,
Please
then
the
he
time.
controls how it's given to him.
Well, and
And then
we've
he
learned
retains
over the
his power.
years, one thing at a time. If we give him one, go move that box and put it here, he will go do that over and over as many times as you want to do and never complain. But you can't tell him 5 things to do. And he's
Yep.
not stupid. It's just, this is a learning curve that he has to figure out. But still yet around his friends, you know, since he's got one really good buddy that will help him. When he gets behind at school, he'll say, Tyler, let's sit down and do some of that work, you know. All right, love you all. I've already got 3 people waiting to come in for my next meeting. Have a beautiful day, and I will see all of you next week. Bye.
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 Bye.